Little Busters follows our hero Riki and his 4 friends at their prestigious boarding school sometime around the present day. Riki loses his parents at a young age and is taken up by 4 friends that call themselves the Little Busters, a group that explores, plays scenes, solves crimes, etc. When they reunite in high school, they aim to recapture the innocent fun they had as kids by forming a baseball team. But of course, a baseball team needs 9 people, and so Riki recruits the final players to round out the team as the Little Busters expand their circle and solve mysterious puzzles along the way. Little Busters started out as a wildly popular visual novel, and the show does have a lot of game-like qualities. The recruitment of each new player plays out like a story arc, with the rounding out of new characters the further along you get in the process, and with the feeling of unlocking an achievement when they agree to join the team. The mysterious mission prompts Riki and Rin get feel like side quests to the main story, and Riki's sudden bouts of narcolepsy even serve as a reset to get the audience from one part of the story to the next. Even as someone who doesn't play video games, I recognize these elements as integral to good storytelling in that world. Unfortunately, it doesn't translate well to this one. Our hero may suffer from narcolepsy, but without any ill effect on his general health or to the storyline, his debilitating condition seems kind of pointless. The side missions tease us to the possibility of a mysterious dimension beyond the ones our heroes currently occupy, only to switch back to the banality of daily high school trials and stay there for most of our time. And while there's baseball in every episode, our heroes barely do more than practice, finally playing a game in the final episode but reducing it to a montage for the final credits. They could have chosen literally any other normal high school group activity and the show wouldn't have changed at all. Why they chose baseball, I have no idea. Little Busters is the least quote-unquote baseball of all the baseball anime. The group's leader Kyosuke suggests forming a baseball team to maximize the waning years of their youth in the first episode, only to make the same speech again in the second episode but suggesting this time that the group forms a rock band. When the rest of the group reminds him that they were forming a baseball team, Kyosuke walks it back and sticks with the original plan. There's a lot of screwing around like this, but this show knows exactly what it's doing. Later on in the episode, when they realize they need a few more people to round out the team, Riki is told to recruit girls exclusively because the show would get boring if there were too many guys. And while I enjoy the self-awareness, this is an example of my biggest problem with this show. With its meta-commentary, ridiculous premise, and conventional tone, Little Busters at times seems like a satire of a generic high school anime, and then spends most of its time being a painfully generic high school anime. Though this show is predictable and conventional, I don't want to give the impression that I don't like Little Busters. This show uses a lot of its time on pointless nonsense, and sometimes that's really fun. I enjoy the cooking episode and the sleepover episode especially, and Mio's arc has an effectively wistful tone. But most of the time, this show doubles down on melodrama, and sometimes it feels insincere with Komari's arc or just plain out of its depth with Haruka and Kuryavka's arc. Though, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that this show doesn't treat domestic violence or an island nation's armed insurrection with the weight it deserves. Though the original series doesn't do much beyond convention, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the sequel Little Busters Refrain is a lot better than the original. It gets weirder and more depressing than its predecessor, but by focusing on one story arc instead of several, it's able to convey its message more effectively. And even though it's a sequel, it works as a standalone show if you don't care about each character's backstory. Of course, if you go through the original 26 episodes and don't care enough to continue through the next 13, I suggest that you do, but will understand if you don't. I myself am honestly indifferent about Little Busters. I'm never going to recommend it to someone looking for something to watch, nor will I dissuade anyone from watching it. If you like anime things like high school scenes, cute girls, colored hair, mysterious dimensions, and silly fight sequences, then you'll probably like this show as well. Little Busters is easily the most quote-unquote anime of the baseball anime. I'm just not the biggest fan of quote-unquote anime, I guess.